There's a specific moment in life when something changes inside. Even if everything on the outside seems the same. You wake up, follow your routine, talk to the same people, but you feel that something no longer fits. It's not clear sadness, nor glaring dissatisfaction. It's a silent, persistent discomfort that grows when you remain silent. This moment is often mistaken for discouragement, tiredness, or even ingratitude, but most of the time, it has another name. A calling. People talk about it because it's uncomfortable. The calling doesn't come with clear instructions or guarantees. It doesn't exactly tell you what to do. It just makes clear what can no longer continue. It's as if something inside you starts automatically rejecting certain choices, certain environments, and certain behaviors that previously seemed normal. And the more you try to ignore it, the stronger this discomfort becomes. The problem is that we've been taught to silence this feeling from a young age. We learn to prioritize security, approval, and stability, to follow familiar paths, to do what works for the majority. So, when this calling appears, the first reaction is to try to stifle it, to fill life with distractions, to work more, to consume more, to be busier. Anything that prevents you from listening to what's happening inside. But the calling doesn't disappear, it just changes form. When ignored, it turns into anxiety. It turns into constant irritation. It turns into a feeling of always being behind in life. It turns into that recurring thought that you were born for something more, but you don't know exactly what. And that's exhausting. It's exhausting because you start living divided between what you do and what you feel you should be doing. There's a reason for that. Every human being has a specific potential, a unique combination of skills, perceptions, and experiences. When you live too long away from that, something enters into internal conflict. No matter how much you try to convince yourself that everything is all right, the body feels it, the mind feels it, the soul feels it. And this internal conflict manifests as silent discomfort. Answering the call doesn't mean impulsively abandoning everything. That's a common mistake. The call doesn't ask for haste, it asks for honesty. Honesty to recognize that you've changed, that your priorities are no longer the same, that certain goals no longer make sense, that certain dreams may not even have been yours, but expectations absorbed along the way. The first step is to stop deceiving yourself. Stop pretending everything is all right when it's not. Stop comparing yourself to those who seem content, living a life that wouldn't suit you. Each person has a different rhythm, path, and purpose, and ignoring that is a slow form of self-sabotage. The calling usually comes after difficult times, losses, frustrations, broken expectations, extreme exhaustion, not as punishment, but as an adjustment. As if life were saying, things can't go on like this. And that's frightening, because change requires leaving the familiar. It requires letting go of certainties. It requires facing the judgment of others and, above all, one's own fear. The mind reacts immediately. It tries to rationalize the discomfort. It tells you that you're exaggerating, that everyone feels like this sometimes, that it's better not to mess with what's working, that you might regret it. And this fear isn't a sign that the calling is false. It's a sign that it's real, because everything that truly matters generates internal resistance. Those who answer the call go through a specific phase of solitude, not because they become isolated from the world, but because they begin to feel out of place in places where they previously fit in. Conversations lose their meaning. Environments become too noisy. Routines seem empty. And this doesn't happen because you've become better, but because you've become more aligned with what you feel. This initial misalignment is painful, but necessary. It forces you to choose between continuing to please external expectations or beginning to respect your own inner truth. And this choice is rarely applauded at first. On the contrary, it is often questioned, criticized, and misinterpreted. But there's something liberating about embracing this process. You start acting more coherently, making less impulsive decisions, saying no with less guilt, committing to what truly matters, and little v, little, that diffuse anxiety begins to diminish. Not because everything is resolved, but because you've stopped fighting against yourself. The calling doesn't promise ease, it promises meaning. And meaning changes everything. When what you do has significance, the effort feels less. Fear still exists, but it doesn't paralyze. Uncertainty is still present, but it doesn't impede movement. You understand that you don't need to have all the answers to take the next step. You only need the courage, not to betray your own conscience. Many people wait for a clear external sign to change. A perfect opportunity, an invitation, a confirmation. But the calling rarely works that way. It begins internally, silently, persistent, and it demands faith in something that is not yet fully visible. It demands action before security, commitment before validation. Over time, those who honor this process realize that life begins to respond differently. More aligned people appear, more coherent opportunities arise. Paths that were previously invisible are revealed, not by magic, but because your perception has changed. You begin to see possibilities that you previously ignored because you were too busy trying to fit in. The greatest risk is not failing to follow the calling. The greatest risk is ignoring it for so long that you forget who you could have become. The deepest regret almost never comes from what was tried and failed, but from what was never tried out of fear. Perhaps you're exactly at that point. Right now, feeling like something needs to change, but without complete clarity on what to do. If so, don't pressure yourself for immediate answers. Start with small, honest choices. Small course corrections. Small commitments to yourself. The path reveals itself as you walk it. Answering the call doesn't mean abandoning the world, but finding your true place in it. It doesn't mean rejecting everything, but choosing more consciously. It doesn't mean living without fear, but not letting fear decide for you. Now, I want to speak directly to you. Is there something inside you that has been asking for change for some time? Something you've been putting off out of fear, complacency, or doubt? Write in the comments. Recognizing this is already an important step. If this content resonated with you, please like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who also feels this silent calling, but hasn't yet had the courage to listen. Because when you honor who you truly are, life finally begins to make sense.